yes. It's crazy because you know it's not true. Click out, that's what you do.
Won't believe what I just saw. There was a monster, a monster. I tell you it's true.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Jeremy Sparts. For those of you who have not seen my videos or the music that I use with different stories and books, but I am a father, husband, teacher of 15 years, reading specialist. I've worked with the University of Denver, written research, mostly about how music is an incredibly powerful tool to help kids engage with reading, retain, feel emotion, as they're reading. I'll get into all of that in a little bit here. You notice I'm a little bit ADHD, so give me grace if I start bouncing around. My brain moves 1,000 miles a minute and my mouth says, what do you want to say, Jeremy? So I'll try to keep it succinct for you here. I have been scrolling through all over the place for hours looking for just articles or people who are talking about how to help struggling readers. And I have found a lot. Some of it is great and some not, just like anywhere else. But what I will say is I just have not found very much on how powerful music can be when we're helping our kids really engage with reading, right? We need to meet our kids where they're at, not bring them to where we want them to be and force them into different ways of reading. We really have to find out what they need and what they respond to. And I'm going to get into all of that, but mostly how can we use music to really help our struggling readers, or any reader for that matter, just soar. And I've dedicated my whole life to this concept. So I've got hundreds of songs, integrated with just about every subject and empathy and skill and social emotional learning and everything else. Man, is it fun to watch your kids read repeatedly and not realize that they're mastering so many things and really becoming better readers. So, okay, as a matter of fact, before we get into that, I want to show you one student. This is back from, 2012, right out of the school where I was teaching at, Martinez Elementary. And this little girl, I worked with about 30 kids initially using music, right, to really get them fired up about reading. And so many amazing things happened. But this little girl, Isa, kind of embodies what I think we all want for our kids, right, or at least the attitude. Check this out.
I'm Isa, and when I first started Lyrics to Learn, I was so excited because I never did something so fun.
Good. And where did you start out? Were you doing pretty well right away in class or not so much?
Not so much, because when I first came here, I wasn't from here. I was from all the way far away from here.
Okay, and what about by the end? How are you doing now?
Very awesome. I went all the way to a bad start to a good end.
Yeah, you did. Good job, Isa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is actually Isa's data from her classroom. Check this out. This blue line right here is Isa, and you can see from fall to winter, she made almost no gain in reading. And then winter, when she started using music, what became Lyrics to Learn, she shot up. As a matter of fact, that yellow line is her class, and she ended up in the top 25% of her class. But she started in the bottom 10% of her class, and that was all in one semester, right? And that was when she started using Lyrics to Learn. So just one example to support how powerful music can be. I have hundreds of others for the record between then and now, but let's move on here. Okay, so for the sake of simplicity here, what I've done is logged into my program, into Lyrics to Learn here. And if you're at home, obviously you can use songs and stories all over the internet from anything, right? This is just what I'm using to show you kind of how we're doing this and how we created this to really provoke emotion from our kids. So there's all sorts of different lessons, but the first thing I want you to remember, if you want to provoke that emotion and use music with your literacy instruction, is that you want high interest content, right? Now, music makes things very interesting generally, but sometimes kids just don't like the song or can't stand fish, they don't want to read about fish or whatever it might be. So in order to avoid that pitfall, first, find something high interest. Second, equally as important here, you've got to make sure that it is not going to frustrate them. If you have a first grader who's still blending and putting together CVC, three-letter words, right? Consonant, vowel, consonant, those sorts of words, and it's just kind of an early reader, you don't want to give them, a song from Hamilton, right, with words like Constitution and Declaration of Independence. They're going to be in tears right away. So find something that's content or age appropriate, actually. So what we're going to do, of course, we have all the letters. Let's go into something a little bit more, maybe some digraphs or something here. Okay, SH. Let's say, you're teaching your kiddo. It doesn't have to be SH only. The beauty of using music and lyrics as your books is that they're going to get all sorts of other things, right? They're going to get tons of sight words. They're all over most songs, and you'll be able to find very specific rules that you can tie into your instruction. But for this example, let's say it's SH. You want to give your kiddos a choice. Maybe find 3 songs, right, that you think they would be interested in and that can tie into your instruction. And then what I'll do is I'll actually just play it for them. I give my kids or a lot of our specialists or the homeschool parents that we work with, we kind of coach them into giving their kiddos choices. So that your kids have some stake in the game, right? There's nothing like the power of being able to choose for yourself, and that's especially true with your kiddos when they're learning. So let's say you're working on the SH, and this is one of the songs. I'll just kind of give you a quick sample of this. When you put an S and an H together, it makes the sh sound. And that reminds me of jazz music and listening to things like sh, 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 sh. You're going to love it. Pay attention, read along, and have some fun. S plus H is sh, sh. S plus H is sh, sh, sh. Ship, sh, shop. Okay. The next part of this, right, to keep your kiddos engaged and provoke that emotion is a little bit of a preview. Whatever song you have, go over some of the words first, right? Like you can see that we kind of take it a sound, shh, and then we put the ip on there and say ship, and then pretty soon we're going to put this together into a whole sentence. But giving your kids a preview to this will really kind of help them kind of get the hang of it fast. And keep in mind, approach this, with fun. Like we want our kids to get excited. We don't want to be like, now you have to make sure that you do this and do it right, or we're going to stop right now. All of a sudden that kid was feeling pressure and they're getting tense and the chemicals in their brain are making them freeze up. When you're using music, right, the whole purpose is to connect emotionally, and we want those emotions positive. Sometimes easier said than done, but you give it your best shot. Okay, I'll give you a little bit more of a sample of this, and then I'll explain the rest of the concept, right, before we move on here. Shy, shoe, I saw a ship and went to the shop. Okay, so we're tying in a lot of these SH words, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect, you guys. You don't have to, find this song, or this one might be on YouTube. We have a few on YouTube. Take advantage of that. Look up lyrics to learn, the number 2, and you'll find some songs that you can use. But regardless, it's not going to be perfect, right? And it doesn't have to be. Man, we see amazing results with our kids when we are targeting our instruction on some very specific things that our kids are missing, right? SH might be one of them. And then we have them read a song repeatedly. So this song right here, or any song that you give them, doesn't have to be highlighted in chunks or phrases. There's all sorts of science to this, but the bottom line is when you're doing it at home, your kiddos can have it printed out right in front of them, right? And you might even have several copies, and you're writing on it, and you're breaking up syllables, or you're underlining the SH or highlighting the SH sound in purple, and then all of the vowels in yellow. Like there's so many things you guys can do as your kiddos are practicing with music to really reinforce all of this. But the bottom line is going to be make sure that your kiddos have some choice, some stake in the game, right? The music, the song, the lyrics that you choose give them 3 options and be like, which one do you want to do? And have them choose it and then really get into it. Okay, we're going to move on to repetition next. All right, everybody. So I decided to kind of come back to lyrics to learn so I could show you guys, give you actual examples of how music leads to retention, certainly, but how we tie in repetition to that, right? So we're back on here. And again, you find songs, any songs your kiddos like, as long as they're on reading level and your kiddos are interested in them and they have some choice in that. So they have some stake, some skin in the game. We looked at Kinder and First. There's a couple. Let's go to 4th and 5th grade, just so you get an example. If you have some kids who are more upper level readers, here are homophones. Good Lord, those can be a bear to teach, even for adults, right? Sometimes I still think about the homophones, which ones to use. Okay, so solar system, developing perspective. Let's just go with circuits, right? So let's say your kiddo is really into electricity or a specific kind of music. I think this one is kind of like a techno-electronic hip-hop sort of mix, but of course all about educational concepts. So the biggest thing, let's start with repetition, okay? So you're teaching your kids different phonics concepts, filling their holes, and then what they're doing to develop fluency specifically, right? Taking those phonic skills and using them over and over until they're smooth readers. That's a really hard thing to do. Fluency is its own component of reading for a reason, right? Like within the science of reading, fluency is vastly undervalued sometimes because, man, do kids need practice a lot of reading for those phonic skills they're learning to become, number 1, permanent, and number 2, really solidified, so they don't have to think about every single sound and they can just read like you and I do, right? That takes time and practice and repetition in multiple genres. But regardless, when you're doing repetition with your kids, this is the format I want you to follow with them, okay? Number 1, give them some choice, let them find the song, make sure it's age appropriate for them. More challenging the better, as long as they don't get frustrated. And then, like in the example of circuits, the first day, this is what I do with my kids and what we do with all of our kids and what we coach all of our homeschool parents to do, is use music as like a 15 to 20 minute supplement each day, right? So you're doing your instruction during class or during your co-op or at home, and then you basically take the song and you say, okay, on day 1, you're going to do a little prep work, give them the vocab, kind of goes through some portions of this, give them some background knowledge on circuits, and then you're going to have them read along with this 3 times. And the first time they do it is called a cold read, okay? And a cold read means they're going to read it without the music. You're just going to have the print in front of them, and they're going to try to read for about a minute. Just make sure you kind of time it. And the only reason you're timing it, right, is so that you have a comparison at the end. Because at the end of the week, they're going to crush this. And you want them to see the difference. Your kiddos need to know that what they're doing is making a difference. So day 1, you've got the lyrics in front of them. They're going to read it for about a minute. And then you just kind of mark where they're stopping. You're like, good job, baby. Oh my gosh, that was so hard, right? I can't wait until the end of the week. We're going to crush this thing. We're going to do karaoke till we die. Let's go. Or, sorry, probably bad example. But bear with me. So, all right, day 1, circuits. They're going to read along 3 times. And let me show you an example of what this looks like for us. This would be 4th grade content. In my class, we all loved learning about electricity. Specifically, we loved making circuits. So we made a track to teach you all about them. We're learning about parallel and series circuits. Here we go.
Circuits. Parallel options, more than one way. A gap stops some, but not the whole thing.
And keep in mind, you guys, I'm going to pause this just for a second because this is important. Your kids are reading along with the music, right? You do your cold read, you mark where they stop. Let's say it's 15 words in a minute because that was really hard, but they got some of them. And it's just the words correct, by the way. That's what you want to kind of count. I won't get into all of the details of all of the other markings. For the sake of this, just how many words correct per minute they got for their cold read before they do any of this practice. Then they put their headphones on, or you just hit play, and the lyrics are printed out and they're reading along with it, right? You can see that we kind of chunk these because we want our kids actually tracking ahead as they read, which you and I do automatically. But you don't need this, right? You can make it effective just by reading along on paper with the song that you chose with your kiddo. And you're going to have to make sure they know that this is going to be hard right away. And it's supposed to be, right? They might be more than one way, but not, and you know what I mean? It's going to sound like that. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, mom, or oh my gosh, dad, I'm horrible at this. You're going to be like, who cares? Just do your best. We're going to do this until we get it down. There's no pressure, because that is what you're doing, right? You're doing repeated reading. It is modeled by the musician, so they're hearing the way it should be read, and it's assisted, right? They're reading along with the musician. So those are 3 strategies for fluency, more proven over the history of science, over the last 60 years anyway, that really help kids take those phonics and apply them until it's smooth. It's repeated reading, modeled reading, and assisted reading. We just combine them all into one and we make it more fun with music, right? And that's what I want you to do. So they're going to read along with this 3 times. When they are done, you'll notice the 3rd time's obviously a little bit better than the first time. They're going to get a little bit more fluent with it each time, and you encourage them with that, right? Man, that time was a little bit better. Or if they get frustrated with the whole song, do the first 2 stanzas, right, and work on those. You're just going to have to adapt based on what your kiddos need. Okay, when you're done, you're going to notice that your kids probably have retained a lot more of this information than if they would have just read it rote. And that's because of the music, the rhythm, the rhyme, and the repetition. And that's where this retention comes into play. And then what you can do is just talk about the story. I would start, let me go back. I would start by talking, oops, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. I would start by talking about literal things, right? Don't make it too hard right away. They've just been introduced to the story. On day 1, it's literal questions, things that are right from the text that you can kind of discuss, or the kids can go back and find the answers in the text. Once you do that, that takes about 15 to 20 minutes total, you're done, right? Then you move on to the next activity of the day. And you revisit this the next day, day 2. Now they're going to read along 3 times again. 3 is kind of the magic number, right? It's enough that it's going to be effective. It's that repeated, modeled, and assisted reading, but it's not so much that they're going to get totally bored with it. But after day 2, they're going to be much more fluent than they were at the end of day 1, right? And they're starting to realize, maybe I can do this. Not only that, the day 2 questions after they read along should be a little bit harder, right? Now maybe you've got some shallow inference, some point of view, some main idea, paraphrase some of those questions, right? Just a little bit more thinking, because your kids have more background knowledge. They're remembering, retaining more information from that story. And then same thing with day 3. Now day 3 is going to be a little bit different, right? Day 3, I want you to have your kiddos read along until it's mastered, until they're close to fluent with it, as close as you can get. The reason for that is threefold. Number 1, then you're going to take away the music, you're going to put the text in front of them, you're going to time them for 1 minute again. This is called a hot read. You had your cold read at the beginning, right? Cold read at the very beginning, now you've got your hot read at the end, and they're going to read 85 words per minute, right? Compared to the 15. And you're just going to make a huge deal out of it. Give them a hug. Oh my gosh, we should go get ice cream. This is amazing. Great job. You just read 85 words per minute. Do you know how many you read right away? And they're going to blow their own mind, hopefully, right? This is part of that confidence building. And then what you can do is, once they've mostly mastered this story, the beauty is they know a lot of that information, right? Parallel series circuits, how they're created, insulators, electrons, all the different things that this song talks about. They are going to have a lot of that background knowledge in their head, and you're going to be able to talk to them about a lot of this in depth and kind of teach them higher level thinking skills. And that's what day 3 is for. There is no better time to teach your kids high level comprehension. As a matter of fact, it's not really effective if they haven't already retained the information, right? Otherwise, they have nothing to draw from. If your kiddos have mastered a story, that's when you dive into those deep concepts. And we actually have lesson extensions and worksheets and all sorts of things to go with this, but you can kind of adapt your own curriculum to do this, right? Again, this is a supplement to go with a curriculum and basically accelerate growth. That's what this whole thing is for. So bottom line of this is, you want your kiddos to do a cold read, read along 3 or 4 times each day, develop that fluency. And then at the end, each time the question level gets harder, and then at the end do a hot read so that you can do a comparison and show your kids how great they've done. That's really going to give them that feedback and build that confidence and self-belief, and also make sure they know why they're doing this, right? Man, kids need to know the why, just like we do as adults. Okay, all right. I'm going to close up with the final thing here. Okay, so the bottom line is this, right? When it comes to using music to helping your struggling readers, or any reader for that matter, it can make it a lot more fun and engaging. You can incorporate movement. You can pick out songs and lyrics that are attacking any phonics or phonemic awareness skill that you want. It is so versatile. It is memorable. Kids will retain information much more quickly, which helps you teach more comprehension. You can use it for fluency. You can use it for phonics instruction. It is really easy to integrate. And so this is kind of like a big overview video, right? We do a lot of this stuff with our parents on the Lyrics to Learn homeschool program and tutoring program. Actually, I'll throw links down below to those two just so you can check them out, even for education, right? Of course, we're happy to help any parent that wants, but really this is information to help parents understand the power of music when it comes to literacy. I will also create videos specific to each component of reading. How does music help the foundational skills? How can we use music to help fluency? How can we use music to help vocabulary and comprehension? And then also, I'll probably throw in some writing, especially constructed response. By the way, writing should be incorporated into any reading instruction, whether it's just writing a word with the rules of encoding, right, or sentence structure, or full paragraphs in response to something you read. Those are all such great practices, and we can integrate music into all of that too. So keep an eye out for the rest of the videos. I'll make them kind of as we go here. I'm really excited about bringing music to the world. I've dedicated my life to it, actually, and now I just want to share it. All right, hope to see you guys soon. By the way, comment below. I would love to hear from you. I can't always get back right away. I'm helping teachers in districts and schools, and we have our own reading specialists, and I see kids. But I will get back to you eventually, I promise, and I want to hear from you.